Singapore International Festival of Arts Festival Director Gaurav Kripalani's time in the top job has been extended for a year. The festival itself, though, is taking a break this year because of COVID-19, but planning is already underway for 2021. And joining us now is the festival director himself. Gaurav, thanks for speaking to us this evening. Firstly, how are you and the team adapting to the changes so far that the pandemic has brought?
I think the arts are having a hard time generally with everything closed. So I think we're all adjusting to doing things online, working from home, just like everybody else. But one of the big concerns for us, of course, is the arts is very much an industry with freelancers to a large extent, directors, designers, crews, stage managers. So it's really how do we look after our ecosystem? And as our National Arts Festival, I think that's one of the things that we're going to be working towards. How do we create activity and programming over the next 6 months, as well as how do we make that part of the programming for the festival next year?
So yes, Gaurav, I want to talk about that. So we understand that this year's festival was meant to be a combination of work over your 3 years as festival director. So share with us some of your plans now that you have an extra year on the cards. You mentioned they're bringing some of this year's content over to the festival next year.
Yeah, I think we are right in the middle of when the festival was supposed to be. It was May 15th to the 31st. So a little bittersweet this week at the moment with no shows happening at all. So I was really touched that the National Arts Council and Arts House Limited asked me if I would do the extra year to help finish. Because, I had a 3-year tenure and we had a 3-year arc of programming. So I'm grateful that I've been given this opportunity to see that through with the team. So we'll do it in 3 stages. We had 4 Singapore commissions, 4 Singapore companies who were going to do their world premieres. This gives them a chance to do their world premieres next year, which is wonderful. And they've all agreed to do that. The second part is to see how many of the international shows that we had this year are available and can come next year so that we can create and complete that arc. And the third part, which I think is very important, is the arts are a mirror of society. It's a lens through which we view our lives. And I think the National Festival needs to look at that. So a lot of the programming, or some of the programming, what we can do would be look at shows and content that reflect the year that we would have all lived through, as well as what is the new normal and how can we find exciting ways to pivot and go forward.
Could you elaborate a bit more on that? It sounds like you'll be taking quite a bit of sort of material or inspiration, in fact, from the pandemic that we're all going through right now.
I think, what I will say to you is we're going to roll out a series of online activity over the next 6 months, starting with on Monday at 6 p.m. If you go to CIFA.sg, I'm going to do a panel discussion with artistic directors and producers from the 4 commissioned companies. And that webinar is going to be not so much about the challenges we're facing, because we're facing the challenges. People are all living through them. What that is going to be about is how do we pivot? How do we as an arts industry create content under these circumstances? And when things do come back to normal, it's going to be a radically new society. It's going to be a new world that we live in. And how do we create art that's meaningful? I mean, all of us, there's a limit to digital content. We are in an industry that brings people together. It's about the human connection. It's being together, bonding, having this live experience. So digital is a great intermittent tool, but it's not a replacement. So I think one of the things that we're going to discuss on Monday, which I encourage everyone to tune in for, is what are the exciting things we can do going forward and looking ahead, and how we can all be ready for the day that we can actually all be together again, because I think that's what we're all craving.
Yeah, we certainly are all looking forward to that. Thanks so much for sharing the year ahead with us, Gaurav Kripalani, the Festival Director of the Singapore International Festival of the Arts.